a similar session, but we're talking about what? Does anyone know? Brexit, correct. We're going to build an app to deal with Brexit in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. So I think places are pretty much sold out. But if you want to survive to Brexit, I hope you can join us on Meetup. All right. So create React app. In that case, not about Brexit, but about Hollywood movies. Then we press enter massively, and then look at what's happening now. So now this is what I told you a few minutes ago. Facebook is, you see, this is a black box. I don't really care. I don't really understand what the hell is going on under the hood. I'm just trusting Facebook to download all the packages, all the plugins, blah, 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 all the things we need, right? That process might take about a couple of minutes. It depends on your laptop and all these things, but it's not like a very, very long process, right? Yeah, so you will see that something is getting downloaded. Let's wait. Here you go. It will finish in a minute. That's it. So once you get that message, that means that, hey, that's it, right? And what means that's it? That means that our application is ready. We can start working with the application, right? I can tell you something. I was one of the speakers in a Google conference, in an international one in 2015, and I didn't know Visual Studio Code. And I realized that all the Google employees, they were using it. Like, what the hell? Why these guys are using Visual Studio Code, right? You know that there is something called Visual Studio, and there is something called Visual Studio Code. Completely unrelated things. Yeah, it's like Java and JavaScript. Some people get confused. They're completely unrelated. So that's the same thing. Visual Studio, which is the very old, huge application, 2 gigs of data, super slow, the dinosaur, and then Visual Studio Code, which is something, you know, very, very flexible, very agile, very sexy, right? So Visual Studio Code, yes, that's what we are going to use. If you have any favorite IDE like Sublime, Atom, IntelliJ, WebStorm, all these things, that's fine. One of the beautiful things about coding is that we don't really care how do you generate the code. At the end of the day, the important thing is the resulting code. How you end up building that code, that's not relevant at all, right? However, if you are now learning to code, let me recommend you Visual Studio Code. And they don't pay me, of course, but I can give you some advantages quickly. It's free, it's open source, it's supported by a big company, and to me, one of the most important things, does anyone know in which language VS Code is written? JavaScript. Ah, true. You see, Visual Studio Code is a desktop application, it's not a web-based application, however, it's written in JavaScript. It's one of the most important JavaScript projects today, yeah, and it proves the power of JavaScript, yeah. Because of all these things, I hope you download it already, and then we can start dealing with it. So what we need to do first is to open the project, yeah. So we have just created a new project, in my case, Hollywood Movies. Now let's open it. How do we open the project? It's fairly simple. You can see on top something called Open Folder, or if you don't like to click there, you can go to the top, File Open. Yes, it's like opening a Photoshop file, right? There is nothing particularly complicated here. So you click on Open, and then we have to find where our folder is. Yeah, we need to find where our folder is. Unless you do anything tricky, your project will be in your home directory. Another question is, how do you find your home directory? If you're a Mac user, that's pretty simple, because from top you can select your home directory, and then I can see the first one, this is my folder, right? If you're a Windows user, may not be that obvious, but I'll show you how it looks like. So if you're a Windows user, it will be something like C:/users/ your username, sexyboy19, / Hollywood Movies. Yeah, you get the point, right? So this is what you need to look for using the Windows Explorer thingy. All right, so once we found it, it's important, click once, so don't start doing double click like hell, just select the folder and then click open. Yep, and then you will see the project is already loaded by VS Code. If you shut down your computer, next time you open it, the project will be there already. So you don't really have to do that anymore, which is a good thing, right? Okay, and then what's the next step? Well, the next step is let's start the server. Do you remember that we installed Node before coming to this session? So that's the only thing we need to do to start working with React. We need to start the server. This is a common practice in JavaScript. Not only React, it's about JavaScript, yeah? One of the reasons why React became so popular is because it didn't try to reinvent the wheel, yeah? Angular in 2011 tried to reinvent the wheel, tried to redefine many different things. Facebook approach was, hey, wait a minute. If someone created something and it works, let's just reuse it. Yeah? So it's really based on standards, which is a fantastic thing. All right, so how do we start the server? We need to, again, open a terminal. Look, we can go back to the black screen with white text, and we can run the start server here. However, I don't really like it. This is about productivity. In our bootcamp, we focus on productivity. Build more in less time. Why I don't like it? Because if I start the server here, let's see if you can see the problem. You got the server running here, and then we got the code here. So we need to do ping pong. Yeah, we need to keep switching from one to the other. Because if something goes wrong, I need to check the server. If I'm coding, I need to use Visual Studio Code. I don't really like to do context switching. Because of that, thankfully, another advantage of VS Code is that it comes with an integrated terminal. And what that means, if you go to the top of the screen, you can go to terminal, and then new terminal. And then look at what happened. You see, we got an integrated terminal at the bottom of the screen, which is pretty good, right? Because I have all the relevant information in one single view. I don't need to keep doing ping pong up and down with the external terminal. And then what? Does anyone know which command do we need to run to start the server? npm start, correct. This is standard in JavaScript. If you type npm space start and you hit enter with a lot of energy, then look at what happened. I'm not touching the screen. I'm not doing anything. It's now, let me close that thingy. It opened a new tab in my browser automatically. I didn't do anything. Even though you cannot see anything, but now it's trying to load something. It's trying to render something. Let's wait a few seconds and let's see if it works. You need to be on the first one, but then boom, you see? That happened automatically. npm start, we got that. And that means that our application is ready. Our laptop has been correctly set up. We got Node, we got VS Code, we got Create React App, we got everything. We got Google Chrome, we got everything, right? Yeah, good? Is everyone good so far? Yeah, cool. So if you achieve to that milestone, that means that now literally we can start coding. And this is what we're going to do next. Let's start coding. Look at the message. This is the React logo, by the way. Yeah? I don't know, to be honest, I don't know what the square surrounding it means. That's a new thing. Yeah, probably someone got bored at Facebook and decided to change the logo a bit. Anyway, look, edit source up and save to reload. Yeah? Another reason why React became so popular is because it's very descriptive with the messaging. When you do something wrong, React tells you, hey, that thing you tried to do is not correct. Are you sure in reality you didn't want to do that? And then you say, oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't notice that. Okay? So it's very easy to progress with React. Even if you don't know how to do something, it's very easy. So edit source up and save to reload. All right, so how do we do that? Look, on the left-hand side, you see we got a src folder. And then you see there is an app.js file. You see it? App.js. All right, so when we click on it, look at what we got. What we got here is the source code that generates that website. Does it make sense? Source code, result, source code. Nice to meet you. Can anyone tell me in which language that source code is written? JSX. That's a perfect solution. That's a perfect answer. However, it may not be obvious for some of the attendees. If you don't even know what JSX means, what will you say by looking at that piece of code here? HTML. That's correct. That looks like HTML. Yeah? This is another reason why React became so popular. Yeah? Again, I'm remarking the same thing again and again and again, because when we help students to get a job, one of the things they have to answer in a job interview is, why do you like React? So we are enumerating all the advantages of React. So React was very clever by combining JavaScript and HTML in one single place. Yeah? You see, in reality, this is a JavaScript file. Even if you have no idea what JavaScript means, This is a JavaScript file. Look at the extension of the file, app.js, JavaScript file. However, you can run HTML code inside. That's a weird thing, right? This only works because of React. This is not part of the JavaScript standard. But thanks to React, we can combine both things. And why this is convenient? Because generally speaking, when we change the HTML, we also change the JavaScript and vice versa. So these two things move together. Because they used to move together, it's very convenient to have them in a single place. Much easier to deal with. All right. Please pay attention to line number 11. Edit source app and save to reload. Let's do a smoke test. Does anyone know what a smoke test is? You know, when you turn 18 years old and your parents gave access to the an old car, and you start driving, and sometimes because it's an old car, the engine doesn't start and it doesn't really work. So sometimes what you do is you try to start the engine, it doesn't work, you look at the back of the car and you see there is some smoke, right? If there is some smoke at the back of the car, that means that it could work. If there is no smoke, that means the engine is completely broken, right? This is what we do, a smoke test. Just let's do a quick test to see if it works, right? Obviously, with the new generation of electric cars, that won't make any sense anymore. We need to find a new way to describe that. All right, so let's change that line. Look, edit source app and save to reload. Let's change it with whatever you want. For instance, welcome to React. Just silly change. Yeah. And then after you save the file, please guys remember to save the file. In a future session, we will explain how to save files automatically. I don't have to save the file. Look, if I change something, it happens automatically, right? I believe that doesn't work for you yet. Anyway, once you manually save the file, back to the browser. Yeah, it works. Without refreshing the browser, automatically. As soon as you save the file, the browser picks the change. Yeah? All right, so can anyone tell me how to increase the size of my title without really doing any CSS, just using HTML? H tag, fantastic. Let's try that. I want to increase the size of the welcome to React text because I think it's pretty small, right? Let's try to put an H1. H1, this is an HTML tag, right? Back to the browser, boom, that's bigger. So why I did such a stupid test? Just to let you know that in reality, this is very similar to HTML. So if you know a bit of HTML already, fantastic. You don't start from scratch. You know that already. There are some subtle differences, but 95% of the code you can, from 5-meter distance, you can think this is HTML. Yeah. All right. So once we did the smoke test, we're pretty comfortable with the setup. We want to build something a bit more complicated. The first thing I always recommend to do is to delete everything. In other words, imagine that you are the next, I don't know, the next Leonardo da Vinci or the next Picasso, and you want to start painting something. How do you think it's better to start painting? Do you think it's better to start painting here or in a white canvas? In a white canvas, right? I want to paint here, not there. So that's pretty much the same thing. If I'm building the next multi-billion web application, I don't want to have that weird logo, right? I want to start from scratch, literally. That means that we need to delete few things. And that's a good thing because there is nothing better than deleting code. The code you delete is the only one that will never ever fail again, right? So what are we going to delete? I would like to delete everything on the HTML except the root div. You see there is a div on line number 7. I will respect that because this is like the root element, but I will delete everything. That implies from line number 8 to line number 21. Let's delete everything. Yeah, easy. Back to the web browser. White, completely clean. Yeah, fantastic. That's another thing. Every time you change something, go to the browser and see if the change satisfies your deepest expectations, right? It doesn't really make sense. This is a common mistake on junior developers, like Hollywood movies. They do changes for 40 minutes, lots of changes, and then after introducing all the changes, they go back to the browser to see if the combination of the 20 changes are okay or not. This doesn't work, yeah? Because if you do many changes at once and something doesn't work, you don't really know. It's very hard to debug the issue. Didn't it work because of the first change, because of the last change, because of change number 11? We don't know. It's much better. Do one change, back to the browser. If it's okay, then jump to the next change. If it's not okay, then you know that you broke it 30 seconds ago, right? So it's much easier to debug. All right, so I would like to then bring back a title for my app because I'm building a Hollywood movies application. You know, I like to have a title like Hollywood movies app, something like that. Yeah. And then back to the web browser. And then here you go. Right, here you go, right? So here is my title, Hollywood movies app, right? Does it make sense? Yeah, we got the title. We got the title. Now, I would like to display a list of movies with React. I would like to display a couple of things. First of all, the title of the movie. Yeah, feel free to pick your favorite movies. And then I would like to display an image. So we'll learn how to add images using React. Okay, so how do we display the title? The title is going to be trivial. The image is going to be a bit more complicated. But first things first. Look, I'm going to create a div. This is HTML, very simplistic HTML, you see, just a div. And then inside of the div, I would like to display the title. So, give me the title of a movie you like. Taxi Driver, fantastic. So I'll type Taxi Driver, yeah? And then again, back to the web browser. All right, Taxi Driver, bit small, but for now it's okay. Now let's learn how to add images. I want to display Taxi Driver, and then underneath I want to display an image representing Taxi Driver, yeah? Pretty simple, pretty simple. How do we display an image? Well, first of all, we need to go to Google, find the image, yeah? So let's try to find a good image for Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver. So this is nothing, there is nothing about coding now, just me doing a bit of Googling. So I go to images, and then Taxi Driver, let's be a bit more specific, movie. Yeah, and then, you know, we can pick any of these. It doesn't really matter, right? Even if the UX is not perfect, it doesn't really matter. If you are passionate about UX, FYI, we are running on the 12th of November a big event about user experience. There will be an expert here talking about how to do things look beautiful, right? But for now, it's okay. So I will select one of the movies, and now we need to download it. This is important, guys. Let's download it to an appropriate folder. We do right-click, save image as, so we need to download the file. I know you know how to do it, of course. And now this is very important. We need to save the file inside of our project. Yeah, so once again, we need to find where our project is. Once again, let's go to our home directory. Let's select our Hollywood movies folder. And then last but not least, please, guys, select the SRC folder. You see? SRC folder. You need to save the files inside of the SRC folder. Then you click Save. And now what happened? Now back to our Visual Studio Code, you will see the image directly saved here, right? So once we click on the image, you see Visual Studio Code will preview it, will preview the image. All right, so the image is there. But now the question is, how do we display the image on the screen? How do we do it? Well, we need to do two things. This is a common pattern. Whenever you want to display an image, we need to do two things. First of all, we have to import the image, and then we need to display it. Import, display, import, display, import, display. How do we import the image? You can see some import statements on top. So now we can add a new one. Look, import, and then we need to create a variable that will hold the image. It doesn't really matter the name that you provide. It doesn't really matter, as we'll see in a minute. For now, let's provide a meaningful title. So if my movie is called Taxi Driver, I would like to call the variable Taxi Driver. It makes sense, right? And then the location of the image. So I need to type from. This is JavaScript standard. So there is nothing exotic about React. This is JavaScript standard. From, open quotes, and then we need to find the location of the image. Hopefully you've noticed that my image is on the same directory as my file, app.js. They are neighbors, they are siblings, they are on the same folder. Does anyone know how to refer to an image that is on the same folder as the current file? Dot slash. Correct. Dot slash, dot slash. And once you do dot slash, you carefully have to type the name of the image. It's very important. You need to type that text. Be careful, guys, because this is maybe case sensitive, uppercase, slashes, dots, so be careful. Actually, I'll tell you something. I'm going to copy the image name and I'm going to paste it there for safety reasons, right? And now, before going to the web browser, do you think that my image will be displayed on the screen? Yes or no? No. Why not?
We're not rendering it.
Correct. We are not rendering it. We're importing it. Like, hey, this is available, but we are not consuming it. Yeah. It's like when you go to Tesco and you buy milk, you put it into the fridge. It's available, but you are not consuming it yet. Yeah. Does it make sense? All right. So, how do we display the taxi driver image? Correct. In HTML, we can use an img tag. It's almost the same thing here. Look, after taxi driver, img, and now, how do you set the source of the image? src. Be careful, guys. On the first day of our bootcamp, when we got 15 students, the common issue is, hey, why it doesn't work? It's because many students type scr. It won't work, right? It's src. src. And now, in HTML, you will write something like that. Dot slash, something like that, right? That's not the way React works. Do you remember 14 minutes ago, I told you, this looks like HTML, but there are some subtle differences. This is a good example. In React, you don't do that. In React, careful here, you need to do curly brackets, yeah, curly brackets or curly braces, and then inside of the curly braces, you need to put the name of the variable holding your image. What's the name of our variable holding the image, guys? Taxi driver, fantastic, taxi driver. So hopefully now the image will be displayed. You see, first of all, we import it, and then we display it. Let's go back to the browser. All right. The UX is not ideal, but it works, right? We got the image displayed. So how can we display the image underneath, not on the right-hand side of the title? We can surround the title with another div. You know, in HTML, every time you drop a div, that will take the whole space on that row, right, on that line. So if we do that, you see, I surrounded the title with a div. You see? Now the title is on top. Still not perfect from a UX, blah, 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 but hey, it works, right? All right, so we got the first image and the first title. I would like now to, well, first of all, let me ask you a question. You see the name of the variable, right? Taxi, and then driver with capital D. So, will it work if I call it Boris Johnson? Yes? Yes, it works. In other words, it doesn't really matter. The name of the variable is up to you. The important thing here is React will save your image into that variable. So you can call it however you want. However, do you think that's a good naming conventions? No. Don't go to a job interview and do that, right? Why? The most difficult aspect of coding is not about writing code, as many people may think. The most difficult aspect of coding is to be able to read, to understand others' code. Okay, we run here weekly whiteboard challenges, because that's part of job interviews, right? They are going to show you an algorithm, and even if you're a really good developer, you need to explain other code, right, with other styling. Because of that, it's very important to provide meaningful variable names. And Boris Johnson is not a meaningful variable name here, so let's bring it back to taxi driver. I'm talking about the coding style. You know when we do that, taxi and then capital D, what's the name of that syntax of this case? Camel case, that's correct. Yeah? Technically speaking, this is camel case. It goes up and down. And what happens if I, instead of that, I start the first, no, sorry, let me change that. I add an underscore instead, you see? What's the name of this case? No one?
Snake.
Snake case, correct. This is snake case. It does like the snake up and down as well, right? This is very typical in languages like PHP. And what happens if I go back to camel case, but look at the chains? I capitalize it. So the first character starts with capital. Oh, fantastic, that's Pascal case. Because Pascal was the first programming language to use it, right? And this is the last one. All these styles are valid in JavaScript. So it's up to you which one do you follow. The next one is not valid. It's the only one not accepted by JavaScript, and don't ask me why. What if I type taxi hyphen or dash driver? What's the name of this case? Hyphen? No, very optimistic. No one? There are two options. One if you are about 40 years old and one if you're below 40 years old. Yeah? Classic developers, they like to call it Lisp case, L-I-S-P. That was the first programming language to use that case. If you go to Stack Overflow with the millennials, you'll feel a bit weird talking about referring to that like Lisp case. So modern developers, they refer to it as kebab case. Kebab, yeah, because those look like the blade going through the meat, right? This is accepted, kebab case, yeah? Still, it's not valid in JavaScript, but hey, in other languages, it's valid, right? Anyway, go back to our preferred case, which is camel. Why camel case is preferred and not Lisp and not Pascal or not Snake? Who decides that? Developer, yeah, of course, developers. But we may have different opinions, right? I may think one is better. You may think another one is better. I like what you say. It's a convention. Someone has decided that. There is an organization that has recommended coding style. This is a recommendation, yeah? But again, it's convenient to follow these recommendations because if you work as part of a team, you want to make sure everyone follows the same style, yeah? Another question is, who is behind that organization? Who decides the styling standards of JavaScript? No. Has nothing to do with W3. ECMA, no. ECMA is the company that looks after the standard of JavaScript. But this is not about the standard. This is about styling. Styling means how many empty spaces? 1, 3, 4. Styling. It will work. It won't affect the result. It's about styling. All right, I'll give you a hint. Say it again?
The user of the code.
You have the eventual decision. Yeah. But you as a developer, you are expected to follow some convention that someone has wrote down, right? Has written down. I'll give you a hint. Imagine once you start making $750 a day, you start making a lot of money, and then, because you're good British citizens, you want to go to Magaluf on holiday, right? So if I search Magaluf holidays, Airbnb. Nice. It is Airbnb. Yeah, it's not Thomas Cook, thankfully. If you go to Google and you search Airbnb, JavaScript, style guide, this is a really good coding style guide. Yeah, look at how many people has started. Yeah, so they tell you what's the best way under their point of view to write JavaScript, and that became very popular because of two reasons. First of all, because it's pretty simple. Google has its own style guide. It's a massive one. It's very hard to satisfy all the details. So the first reason is very simplistic, and reason number two is, look at that. They show you this is bad, this is good. So you can easily compare and they explain why, under their point of view, one is better than the other. Yeah? Patterns versus anti-patterns. Yeah? So if you like the idea of learning coding by analyzing anti-patterns, some of you, last week you attended the Trainline event. It was the largest web event of the year in the UK. Yeah? So we used to talk about these things in different sessions. All right, so let's go back to our app. We got our first movie with title and picture. Let's add a second one, right? Give me the name of your favorite movie, guys. The Matrix. Fantastic. Again, the same principle. You see, we're going to repeat the same exercise. Coding is about doing the same thing again and again, but we need to do it perfectly. So pretty much the same thing. I will go to Google and I'll select one of the pictures, any random one. Again, the same process, right? Right click, save image as, and then I'll rename it to matrix. Be careful, guys, when you download an image, sometimes the image name is very weird. Yeah, sometimes it's a combination of weird numbers and characters. So please use meaningful naming conventions. And again, you save it into your folder. And because I'm going to add a third one, just to accelerate, to speed up things a bit, I want to add a third image. So give me the name of another movie. Joker. All right, Joker movie. Fantastic. So pretty much the same thing, right? You click on it, and then right click, save image as, and then Joker. Cool, fair enough. So back to our Visual Studio editor. First of all, let's import both images, right? So import, first of all, matrix or the matrix from /matrix. Be careful with the extension. If it's a JPEG, don't drop PNG, right? Or vice versa. So be careful with these details. And then import Joker from, same thing, right? Joker.jpg. Does it make sense? Yeah, cool, fantastic. So now let's display them. Because I'm a bit lazy today, I'm going to copy and paste that. This is considered an anti-pattern. We shouldn't copy and paste code, but hey, at this time of the day, let's do that, right? So I will copy these 4 lines, yeah? So the whole div encapsulating the title and the image, and then I'll paste it twice. So we now simply have to rename the titles to the matrix, and finally Joker. Does it make sense? Will it work, yes or no? What do you think? Yeah, all right, let's have a look. Look, taxi driver, matrix, and Joker. Yeah, it works. Now the question is, why am I trying to do this exercise with you? I'm trying to expose a problem. Imagine that you work at Netflix. Yeah? You know that one of the main activities we run in the bootcamp is we run Codeflix, which is the combination of Netflix and Codery. We create apps from the first day. And one of the apps we create is Codeflix. Imagine that in your catalog, you don't have free movies. You have 3,000 movies. Do you really think that Netflix is doing that? Is doing copy and paste of title and image? Probably not, right? Probably not. There should be a better way to deal with that. Well, let me show you another problem. What happened if now our business analyst or our UX specialist wants to change the size of the titles because it's a bit small, it's hard to read? Of course, we can go one after the other. I can go to taxi driver and add an H3, for instance. Yeah, we can manually do that. That's fine. But I hope you agree with me that strategy is okay when we have free movies. And when we have 3,000 movies, it will take you ages to rename or to refactor your components, right? So the reason why I did that is, first of all, to showcase the issue, the scalability problem, and then to fix it. And this is another reason why React became so popular. Arguably, the most important reason. React is component-based. With React, you can create a piece of code, and then you can reuse it multiple times. Yeah? Let me show you another example. Back to the holidays example. EasyJet.com. You know when you go to EasyJet website, like this is just a random example. Any travel agency, all these sort of companies, I mean, you got, this is pretty standard, right? So you can select 2 dates. When do you want to travel? And then when do you want to come back? There are some differences on the implementation depending on the website. But again, you see that the look and feel, the functionality is the same, but we need to interact with it twice. Obviously, people at EasyJet, they didn't build the same thing twice. So they created that panel once, and they reuse it as many times as necessary. So that's what I would like to do now. I would like to create a movie component, and then I would like to reuse it as many times as necessary. So how do we do that? there are different ways of creating React components. I will show you the most simplistic ones. The most simplistic way of creating a React component is by creating a JavaScript function. Yeah? If you don't really know what a JavaScript function, I would like to invite you to watch some of the introduction to JavaScript videos in our Codedy platform, right? But just to keep the long story short, to create a JavaScript function, you need to type function, and then the name of the function, the name of the component. Whenever you create a React component, please capitalize the name of the function. Use Pascal case. You remember Pascal case, where the first character was big? So that's the main thing, movie. Yeah? And then we open and close parentheses. We'll see in a minute why we need that. And then open and close curly braces. Let's leave it like that for now. And now, how a JavaScript function works? Well, we have to return a piece of HTML. For now, let's return something very simple, just for testing purposes. Look, I'm going to return a div, hello meetup. Very simplistic component. Why? Because I want to show you how to display the hello meetup message on the screen. The way we display components in React is very simple and very sexy under my point of view. Look, anywhere in our main component, we need to refer to it as a tag. You know, we got the div tag, we got the h1 tag, we got the img tag. Now we got a new tag called movie. So look, we can open the tag, type movie, and then close it. You see how simple it is. React is very declarative. It's very explicit in the way it works. If we go back to our web browser, let's close EasyJet for now. Look, see, we got our hello meetup message on top of the screen. Can I reuse it multiple times? Yes, of course, right? That's the beautifulness of React components. You can build something once, and you can display the same component as many times as you want. Yeah? All right, so that's about the example of creating a hello meetup component. But in reality, what I want to do is to display a movie. So look at my approach. I'm going to cut the first movie, and I'm going to replace it on top. Yeah? To me, visually speaking, that looks weird. You see, that doesn't satisfy Airbnb standards. Look at how many spaces we got here. This is not very elegant. It smells a bit. In the long term, you'll obviously memorize how these standards work. But in the short term, if you are not sure, and that's actually something very important, when we help students to get a job, when they send a test to a company, sometimes we review the test. And if on the test you do that, looks a bit weird, right? How can we improve that in a very, very, very easy way? Look, you can do right-click, and then format document. Pop. You see? So until you are very comfortable dealing with indentation guidelines, at least Visual Studio Code will help you, which is, I think, is a good thing. All right, so because now we're displaying our movie 3 times, let me remove the 2 manual movies we created at the bottom. So now, can anyone tell me what the eventual outcome of this code will be? Aha, aha. Look at what someone said there. Someone suggested that we're going to display taxi driver 3 times. Do you agree on that? Let's have a look. Taxi driver once, taxi driver twice, taxi driver thrice. So that works as designed, but obviously not as expected. This is not what we want to do. So now let's learn how to customize, fine-tune the behavior of our components. I really like the way that works. Let's first of all change the title. To change the title of each instance of our component, we can pass HTML attributes. For instance, we can pass an attribute called title. Again, I just made that up. I can call it Brexit, so it doesn't really matter, right? You pass an attribute, and then the value of the attribute. On the first case, taxi driver. On the second case, the matrix. And on the last scenario, we got Joker. Correct. So now, again, the same question. Will it work now, the title, yes or no? No. No. We are halfway through. Now we are passing the right data to our component, but look, the component is telling us, yeah, whatever, send me whatever you want, I'm going to ignore you massively. Yeah? So the component is not picking, it's not capturing the data. So how can we bind with the title that we are passing? Inside of the parentheses, we can pass something called props. So this is what we call in JavaScript an argument. Once again, you can put whatever you want here. Yeah, you can put Donald Trump. It will work, exceptionally speaking. But if you pass props, you will be satisfying the coding standards, right? So we pass props here, and then look, I'm going to replace the hard-coded taxi driver message with, once again, curly braces. Remember, we need to use curly braces every time we need to access any JavaScript variable. And now, props is a JavaScript object. If you don't really know what an object is, again, I would like to invite you to watch our video tutorials on the Codiri platform. They will tell you what an object is. Assuming this is an object, how do we access the title property of the object? Dot title, correct. That's the way JavaScript works. Again, that has nothing to do with React, literally nothing. This is only about JavaScript. Yeah? So props.title will essentially find a property called title, and then it will display the value. So now the images should be correct. Let's have a look. Look, taxi driver, the matrix, and Joker. The images are still wrong. Fair enough, fair enough. We'll fix that in a second. But I hope now you agree that we are binding with the title correctly. Yeah? So now, you are going to tell me, I'm not going to do that part. How can we now pass dynamic images? Correct. We can pass a new attribute, yeah, called movie, and then the name of the variable hosting the movie. So first of all, taxi driver. Then we can pass the same thing with matrix, and finally the same thing with Joker. Does it make sense? Yeah? It's not that complicated, I hope, right? Okay, so will it work now? Yes or no? And why? Ooh, look, still the component is ignoring us, right? Taxi driver. So what do we need to type here? Props.movie. I love that. Fantastic. Props.movie. So back to the web browser, and look, taxi driver, and then matrix. Here you go. We've got matrix, and what else? Joker. Here you go, right? So now our component is beautiful, is sexy. It reacts to our expectations, right? And what that means? Imagine that we start working professionally on this app, we start getting traction of them on the market, hundreds of millions of customers, trillions of revenue, and then we want to improve it. We want to add, for instance, the year that its movie was released. So on the right-hand side of its title, we want to add the year, right? The movie was released. So you tell me, how do we add new attributes, new properties to our catalog, the movie, the year of the movie? How do we do that? The same thing, right? We can pass another property, year. Which year Taxi Driver was released? Anyone knows? 19. Do you make that up or you know that? Right. Let's accept that as a valid answer. The Matrix.
1999.
Right. And Joker?
19.
Correct. All right. We'll take that as a valid answer. So now, look, we can go back to our component and we can do something like that. We can do year, we can type some text, and then with curly braces, props.year, You see how simple it is? So if we go back to the browser, look, well, obviously we can, work a bit on the UX. That's not very relevant. Taxi driver, year 76. The Matrix, year 99. And Joker, year 2019. Again, the beautifulness of this pattern is, even if you have 1 trillion movies, it's very easy to scale because you only have to adapt your component once. What happens if we want to increase the size of the titles? If we want to change H3 to H1? You change it once, literally, and boom, you see, now the titles are huge. Does it make sense? Yeah? Is there any questions? No? All right, so that was the first part of the session. Again, this will be on YouTube tonight, so feel free to rewatch it. And on the last 10 minutes, I would like to show you how do we train React. So we become really good React developers in our academy by training a lot. And how do we train it? I'm telling you because this is free. So if you like React, you can do it, right? So the way you can train with React is, we have a website which is called ready.com. You will see there is a play button on top. I know that some of you have been playing with it already. So then once you join the platform, you'll see on the left-hand side, there is something called training. And then look, sorry, I clicked too far. So you can actually, you can train your coding skills across a series of technologies and frameworks. Yeah? At the moment, this is the most popular European tool to learn coding, right? So I really like to invite you to play with it. Let's talk about React. So you got 3 levels of difficulty. Let's do just a simple example with something very basic. Let's learn how to render stuff. So the way it works is, look, we show you a problem. This is very, very, very simplistic, but if it's your first time with React, that could be quite convenient. We have created a dedicated video for each particular question, and then at the bottom, you got the technical expectation of the exercise. Yeah, this is what we call TDD. Have you heard about TDD? Yeah, what TDD means? Test-driven development. Yeah, so you follow TDD principles by accident. Even if you don't really know what TDD is, from the very first minute, you get used to it, which is a fantastic thing, I believe. All right, so let's try to understand the problem. We are supposed to create a welcome component. You see, we created a movie component a minute ago, so it's pretty much the same thing. So whenever we execute it, we should return welcome to React. All right, so on the right-hand side, it's time to do a bit of coding. So look, we got halfway through, right? So we got the component already prepared. We got the return statement, we got the div. So the only thing we need to do here is to type welcome to React, something like that. Yeah. By the way, does anyone know which code editor are we using here? No? Which one, sorry? Mocha. No. This is, yes. Correct, that's VS Code. You remember, I told you before, this is written in JavaScript. Hey, we can copy the code and paste it here. It's not that rudimentary, but I hope you get the point. We can reuse components. That's beautiful, right? All right, so this is what we thought is a good solution. So let's test it. Let's see what happened. And look, oh, something went wrong, right? You see, we're highlighting where the error is. Why it failed? Because we return welcome to React. However, that's not exactly what we expected. So can anyone spot the problem? The exclamation mark. Yeah, coding is about details. Coding is about details. All right, so let's add the exclamation mark and let's try again. Look, confetti time. Yeah, everyone loves confetti. Yeah, probably a part of me. You know that we've been showcasing the Codery platform to few investors that are interested in it. And you can be talking about a lot of architecture, cloud, performance, and the only thing they care is about the confetti, right? It's the way the world works. Right, so we got confetti, that means the solution is correct. However, do you remember back to Airbnb? Look, missing semicolon. Yeah, this is styling. Styling. According to the styling standards, we should drop a semicolon at the end of our code. Syntax sugar. So let's try again with semicolons. You see, it works, but this particular time, we didn't have any elegance issues. So that means that we can run to the next question. This is the last one I'm going to do, I promise. So the idea is for every particular topic, you'll receive 5 questions. So then we need to do our best, right, to deal with them. The second exercise is pretty similar. Again, it's a welcome message. But in that particular scenario, we have to create 2 P tags. What P stands for in HTML, guys? Paragraph, fantastic. So on the first paragraph, we should type welcome. On the second one, we should type to React. All right, no problem at all. Look, we got the first one. And now because we are using VS Code, we can use all the tricks. For instance, I want to copy the first line with Option Shift down. Look, this is pretty awesome, right? And now I want to type to React. Do you think that's correct or not? It's a bit hard to see, right? Well, let me show you quickly. Oh, someone spotted the issue, right? Is JavaScript case sensitive? Yes, it is. Look, expected to React, small r, to equal to React, big R. It's not the same. So be careful with these details, guys. To React with capital R. And now, if we try again, the solution is literally perfect, as you can see, right? So let me submit it. I'll skip the next questions, right? Again, you're more than welcome to practice, to play with it. Let me show you what happened at the end. At the end, we give you a score. So this score is telling how good developer you are, how good your performance was across that test, according to a series of metrics. Yeah? Correct. I got 39 out of 100. Why? Because I received 5 questions, I skipped 3 of them. So the max score I could get is 40. Yeah? Don't skip the questions, just try to go until the end, right? So here we evaluate how many questions you completed, how many times you failed, that's the accuracy, how long it took you to complete the test, how many times you went to Google, to Stack Overflow, to get some help, to do copy-paste, all these things, right? And how standard your code is according to Airbnb. And then on the right-hand side, you can get a breakdown of the details. You can see what's your position on the global ranks. We got like 1,300 developers, Google employees, Facebook employees, people from 41 countries. On top of that, you can analyze your code. So that means that I can see what I did, and I can compare it with many other players, right? So I can see different coding styles, right? So obviously, ones will be better than others, yeah? But again, you know, that's the way it works. So this is about the training. As I said, this is free, so feel free to play with it a bit. And just in the last 2 minutes, if you like the idea, you can find yourself on the Hall of Fame, on the leaderboards, so something I like to show you, so you can see how much you are progressing over a period of time, yeah? And of course, this is a social platform at the end of the day, so you can see all the details of all other developers, all the awards, you know, you can contact them. And you can also see let me show you the Hall of Fame. So here you can get the best player of the day, best player of the week, you know, statistics by country, yeah, where are the best developers in Europe? Not only in Europe, right? So you can see many statistics in here. You know, many different things. And the very last thing here are the coding challenges. I know some of you know what that means. So we run about 400 coding challenges already. A coding challenge is an activity like this one, but everyone gets the same questions. So you have to prove your coding ability within 60 minutes, right? And at the end of the exercise, then look at what we do. We display the results. So we can run individual challenges, or we can run team challenges. So just let me show you very quickly. So for instance, we recently ran a job event. So people wanted to get a job. We invited some startups. So developers, they ran a challenge. And this is pretty much what happened. So here you can see the result of combining all the different, this is what we call PPP, player performance metrics. And then of course we try to make a bit of show. So we display the results, right? So what happened starting from the bottom, so how many points everyone got, right? So, you know, we rebuild the results from bottom to top. And the very last thing is, because Coding Challenge became so successful, now we run international team challenges. So the first one ran last month between UK and Spain, more than 100 developers, many people here. Yeah. And this was a team challenge. So that means that you don't have to work by yourself. You work as a team. So we really remark the collaboration aspect of coding, which we believe is very important, right? So just to show you what happened on that challenge. I think it was a good activity. So we got many developers in the UK, many developers in Spain, 2 venues at the same time. And then what happened? So what happened was, we could see was the average score for the Spanish team, that's in one of the challenges, and what was the average score for the British team, right? So that means that that particular challenge, you know, Spain won the battle. And of course we can see many different metrics about the challenge, right? So if you like the idea, I'd like to invite you to the next one. This is going to be our largest event ever on the 20th of November. In the UK, it will run here in London in train line. So they will provide food, drinks, and everything. It doesn't matter if you don't really have any technical background. It's just a fun activity. So you are very welcome to join it, right? And then on the last 20 seconds, if you like the way we do things here, you know that we run these events for free. If you are thinking about coding professionally, also FYI, we run a bootcamp. The reason why I started creating bootcamps is because I didn't really like how the bootcamps work in London. So we use a different approach, individual learning plans, project driven. You create apps from the first day, pretty much what you saw today. I mean, the places for the next cohort are pretty much sold out. But still, if you are still interested on joining either 2 weeks time cohort or we have a new one in January, you got to book your place. So just a way to say thank you. I would like to give you 15% off on your next booking, right? So if you, at the time of your booking on the next 24 hours, you introduce that code, then you will get the discount, right? Apart from that, the only thing I can tell you is thank you very much for attending this session. I know it's been a bit stressful. I hope now you go home learning a bit more about how React works. And again, I'm going to be here for a while, so feel free to stay to talk about coding, cars, fashion, football, whatever. And we'll be playing a ping pong tournament at 8, so you are more than invited to stay with us and join, right? So thank you very much, guys, and looking forward to see you soon. Cheers.